Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with my review of NXT 2.0 for October 12th, 2021. We're 2 weeks away from the Halloween Havoc special on TV, also tying up some loose threads as it relates to certain talent leaving NXT and going to the main roster in the wake of the draft, so we'll see how those wrap up. And let's begin with that out of the way. Like what you like, don't be a dick. The show begins with a shot from earlier in the day in which Hit Row minus Ashante the Adonis go to the building. They don't know where Ashante's been all week. Suddenly, Legado del Fantasma roll up and to straight up kidnap B-Fab and Top Dollar in broad daylight. Back to the origin days of the group where they're just straight up kidnapping people, committing crimes left and right, it seems. So Swerve is all alone going into his title match later in the night against Santos. Our first match of the evening sees Joe Gacy taking on Tommaso Ciampa. It's a non-title match, but if Gacy wins, he will be added to the NXT title match at Halloween Havoc in 2 weeks with Braun Breaker. Gacy with a pre-match promo, he talks about how Ciampa as champion is throwing everything off balance, and he refers to his own followers as snowflakes, which I actually love how they're kind of tying that buzzword in there. Gacy in the match, true to his gimmick, the semi-pacifist that he is, he wants to go and drive Ciampa's face into the announce table, but he hesitates, and that allows Ciampa to get back for a bit. Harland looks on from the crowd, the scary bald dude, former Parker Boudreaux, however you say his name, I'm sorry, but he's looking on in the crowd and everything like last week. I like Gacy's offense in this thing. He's very fluid as he takes on Ciampa here. He goes for his handspring clothesline attack, but Ciampa cuts that off right away, hits the fairy tale ending to win the match. So no Joe Gacy in the main event at Halloween Havoc, but that's fine. I'm sure he'll get a shot at some point in the future. After the match though, Harland attacks Ciampa. He jumps down from the crowd and beats him up for a bit. He throttles Gacy and goes to attack him, but then Joe just gently strokes Harland's face with the back of his hand, and Harland hesitates for a second, seems kind of confused, and he just lets go and bolts. We don't see him the rest of the segment, and then Joe wants to go give Ciampa a hug, but Tommaso's like, no, get away, and he goes off. And so that's the end of that. Then we see the Toxic Attraction come out and kind of show up when Joe Gacy's sitting there at ringside for their promo. But I am curious to see where they're going to go with this Joe Gacy Harland kind of thing, where it's like, is he going to be Joe Gacy's muscle? Will Joe be converting him into this kind of like quasi-pacifist through violence kind of thing that Gacy seems to be promoting or alleging? Is Harland going to be the official like King Snowflake for Joe Gacy's army? Time will tell. We'll see what happens hopefully soon. So as I mentioned, the Toxic Attraction show up and they talk trash about Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. They say that they're going to win the tag team titles at Halloween Havoc. Mandy Rose challenges Raquel Gonzalez to a title match at the same show, and she says, no matter what hair color I have, I'm still the baddest bitch in NXT. And then when they're done, suddenly Xyon Quinn makes his entrance. It's just go, go, go for the first part of this show. And I love the visual of Xyon Quinn doing his haka dance for his entrance, while 3 lonely microphones are just in the ring, on the mat, just sitting there after the Toxic Attractions dropped them and left them in the ring. Before that next match, though, we get kind of a spooky vignette of some mysterious person dragging a shovel through what looks to be a graveyard of some kind. There's lightning and it's black and white. And then we hear this distorted voice saying they will bury the past to start again before they start digging. And then we get a graphic saying they're going to debut at Halloween Havoc. So who could this person be? I mean, I went into my computer and I downloaded the clip and I tuned the voice up a little bit to try and correct the modulation.
I will bury the past so I can start again.
It's definitely a female voice, and it's definitely English or Australian. I couldn't place the accent for sure, but let me know what you think and who you think the person is going to be debuting at Halloween Havoc. We go to that match now, Xyon Quinn versus Malik Blade. Xyon's offense is certainly unique in some places, like he does a little spin move after he does an Irish whip into the corner. I'm not sure if him spinning after letting go adds any more momentum to the whip than him not doing it, but be that as it may. A fairly short match. He hits the flying forearm on Blade to win very decisively. Mackenzie Mitchell interviewing Ciampa after his match. He's excited to go into Halloween Havoc defending the title against Braun Breaker. Suddenly GYV interrupt him and they say they can't wait to see him lose the belt to a rookie. Then in comes Braun Breaker, who takes offense to that comment. He wants to throw down right now, but GYV not dressed to wrestle. They balk, and so then Breaker says to Ciampa after they leave, he's got Ciampa's back until Halloween Havoc because he wants to beat him at his very best. So I had a feeling, and it was later confirmed, we'll be seeing a tag team match play between those two teams, Breaker and Ciampa versus GYV, next week. And elsewhere, we see Swerve backstage being interviewed. Where's Ashante the Adonis? What happened to B-Fab and Top Dollar? Swerve says that Legado del Fantasma left the wrong member of Hit Row standing after all these abductions. He's going to take the North American title with him to SmackDown, and there's nothing Santos Escobar can do about it. Ivy Nile, or the Tenderoni of the Diamond Mine, as Malcolm Bivens called her on Twitter, makes her in-ring debut against Valentina Feroz. And man, Nile just beat this poor enhancement talent pillar to post. It was not even in question. Just really showing off her strength, her domineering abilities in this match, makes her tap out in a relatively short fashion with a big backbreaker bent over her shoulders and everything. Then after the match, Bivens is on the microphone, the whole team's in there. He's putting over Nile, he's putting over the Creed brothers, puts over Roderick Strong. Then Ikemen Jiro interrupts the proceedings, and Julius Creed, I'm pretty sure it's the first time we've ever heard him talk or at least get some solo mic time here, challenging Jiro to a match right then and there because he's always ready for a fight. Jiro hits him in the face before we go to break, and we go to that match where Jiro's got a couple of big moves here. He hits like a nice big like splash out of the corner, an Asai moonsault. Has a couple of moments of brilliance here, but Julius just stops him dead in his tracks and hits a big power slam or running power slam into that like descending clothesline with the force behind it to win. And then afterward, there's a big beatdown from the group on Jiro after the bell. Kushida tries to make a save. He has to pull his punch and stop from hitting Ivy Nile in the ring, and that ends up costing him. Strong lays him out, and the Diamond Mine stands tall here. I liked these two matches back-to-back. What a great way to get the Diamond Mine over. My God, these two back-to-back singles matches from people who you're not used to seeing in singles matches yet. It was Julius's singles debut as well. Beating down Jiro and Kushida looking vicious. The Pat beating philosophy here. The first couple weeks I did it, I didn't quite care for it. I thought it was kind of like antithetical to like the vibe I was getting from them. But, you know, it's slowly working for me, and we'll see how this continues to build. But a really good showing for Diamond Mine this week. A promo package from Raquel Gonzalez up next. She talks about being a fighting champion, taking on all comers, and she ups the ante against Mandy Rose by challenging her to a spin the wheel, make the deal match in 2 weeks. And I'm very excited about that based on how the wheel was utilized last year at Halloween Havoc, and that being a fairly big success in my book. I'm very curious to see how they'll pull it off this year as well. And then we get another Lashing Out with Lash Legend, her talk show and everything. I feel we're seeing more of the crowd this time around, which I don't know is a good thing because it just really exposes that there's in a giant like empty restaurant or club is where they're doing this, and it's maybe 3 rows of extras in the audience. That when they showed the crowd there, it looked just cheap to me. I think they should stick with showing just Lash on the stage and maybe some extreme close-ups of crowd members, but not as wide as they did, because that I think really kind of showed how cheap it all looked. But she talks about the draft, makes a Squid Game reference. I feel like every other tweet in my timeline for the last week has been about Squid Game. I'll hopefully watch it at some point here. And the Lashing Out of the week is in regards to Tony D'Angelo. Producer Mark off screen talks about how he fabed Tony last week when Tony wanted to be part of the show, and they kind of laugh at him, and Lash tells Tony to forget about it, about being a guest on her show. So wait, is Lash Legend like a face or a heel at this point? I guess it depends on whether or not Tony D'Angelo is meant to be a face or a heel at this point, because with both of them, I'm not entirely sure right now. Strange Bedfellows team up next as Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner take on Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. Of course, the whole story here is that Kyle O'Reilly, can he trust this newcomer Von Wagner? And I tell you, when they make their entrance together, Von just looks like a really early stage CAW in like the story mode of the WWE games compared to like everyone else right now. It looks so kind of plain and generic. There's some big boy clashes with he and Ridge Holland. He moves all right, but I don't know. I just, from the small sample size I've seen of him now, from the last couple times he's been on NXT, it just feels like there's a distinct lack of playing to the crowd. And I think that really comes off in how the fans react to him, because he didn't really get a pop when he made his entrance. And during the match itself, I don't think there was much of any pop for most of what he did, because there's that lack of connection with the audience. I think if he played to him more, there'd be more of that. Like I said, the story is, can Kyle trust Von Wagner? And so we see here in this match that he certainly can, because he saves Kyle's butt a couple of times here. Von hits Ridge Holland with this underhook, like flipping slam to win the match for his team. And so that was that. Honestly, after what I've seen of him, when I see Von Wagner, I just see a big blank slate. I feel that right now he is, of all the new characters we've seen and everyone else we've met in the new NXT, he is by far the least defined character out there. And I'm not writing him off entirely just yet, but I think his progression has been a lot slower than a lot of other people we've seen at this point. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Another edition of Chase University up next, and Andre Chase is teaching his students about ring awareness, showing the replay of the Odyssey Jones LA Knight match last week where Andre pushed Odyssey's foot into the ring from under the ropes to allow Ellie to win the pinfall, and then he is very proud of what he did there. One of the students asks him, "Isn't what you did cheating?" And Andre predictably lashes out at the guy, swears a lot, but this time he's censored. Unlike last time we heard him swear, and there's a big a Chase University seal over his face when he does it. And he tells him to go join Steve in the dumbass club from the last vignette. So again, I'm digging what the Chase University stuff is showing me here. And then we hear from Tony D'Angelo talking about his big debut last week, and he brings up the producer Mark, who gave him the runaround from the Lash Legends show, and he says, oh, Mark seems like a nice guy, but I'll show up on my own time. And then he leaves, and then the camera pans down and see the car he's leaning against, and it's like shaking. There's someone clearly in the trunk of the car. Oh, that's sneaky mobster. It's like, so wait a minute, again, to circle back around to my talk about the Lash Legends segment, is Tony a face? Is he a heel? Is Lash a face? Is she a heel? I don't know, because based on these two things, I can't really tell definitively one way or the other, but at least Tony D'Angelo's thing, to me, was more entertaining. The Gambler, Duke Hudson in the ring with Grayson Waller. I liked Grayson's attacks, his striking abilities here, really putting over his history as a Golden Gloves boxer in Australia. Hits a stunner, which doesn't put him away, and if you ask me, if you're hitting someone with a stunner and it's not the finishing move, like it is with Kevin Owens, it seems a bit of a bastardization of that move, in my opinion. Hudson trips Grayson up. I like this counter here where Grayson's going for a springboard. Hudson just kicks the rope he's jumping off of, so it throws his balance off, takes him down, and then Hudson rolls him up and grabs the boxing trunks to win the match dirty here. And that was that. I mean, like, I'm still kind of like, we'll see what happens with Duke Hudson with this poker player gimmick. He threw a chip at Grayson as kind of like it's almost like Dak Draper's participation awards. He was doing Ring of Honor for a while. Shame on you. We get a Santos Escobar promo where he says he will take on Swerve mano a mano with no help from the rest of his group. And then we get an Imperium promo package where they speak in their native tongues about how MSK is just going against everything they stand for in wrestling, and they will soon prove the mat is sacred. On we go to our next match as Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta take on Saray and Amari Miller. First off, Indy plants a big old gloopy kiss on Dexter Loomis's face before she heads out. The spit trails like bleh, as she's pulling away. Second of all, what happened to Saray? I feel that she had all this hype and build going into her debut and everything, touted this big recruit for the brand, and she's been totally lost in the shuffle, whether that has to do with the rebranding or booking or injuries or whatever. It just seems that like the bloom has fallen off the rose with her, and she's totally cooled off from whatever she was built to be when she first showed up. Like, Asuka or Io Shirai, she ain't, or Kairi Sane, based on just the booking for her, and it's kind of strange to see. And in the match here, it's pretty elementary. Both Indy and Persia look good here. Indy, by the way, is back into her impressive gimmick she had before she joined the way, and I'm still on the fence about that one. I didn't care for it when she had it the first time. So anyway, they beat Miller for the 1, 2, 3. Again, what happened to Saray? And then after the match, Persia's on the microphone and she says they want a shot at the tag team championships. Then out come Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. Io is hopping mad from the get-go. Get some banter between her and Zoe about how Io still doesn't like Zoe. I mean, they're more than a month into their title reign, and we have gotten almost no progression, if any, on their story. And then you got Gigi Dolan and JC Jane showing up, and they say they want a shot at the belts, and all three teams has fight. The champions stand tall at the end, and as I kind of saw this coming after this segment, we find out later on we're going to get a triple threat match with the belts at Halloween Havoc. It should be a good showing for all three of the unestablished teams. And I know I lumped the champions into that statement when I said it, but honestly, I stand by it. We see Grayson Waller backstage after his match. He hits on some lady there, and then when she goes to leave, Cameron Grimes shows up because he's still looking for love, and he wants to know how he can be slick with the ladies like Grayson is. And Grayson shows him a little app called Tinder, which Cameron seems very impressed by. And then we get a promo, or a vignette, I should say, for Solo Sikoa, who's the former Sefa Fatu. He is the son of Rikishi and the brother of the Usos. So a lot to live up to there, that lineage, for sure to be part of that family. And we go to our main event match, North American Championship, as Isaiah Swerve Scott finally, for the first time since winning the belt back in July, defends it against Santos Escobar. The action is very fast and furious right out the gate, very fitting for a rivalry as intense and as lengthy as theirs has been. They've been feuding since last year over the Cruiserweight Championship. A lot of high-flying action in this as well. Santos with the big frog splash, there's a kick out, there's a big intense stare down between them as Swerve, before he hits a Death Valley driver onto Santos on the apron. Wilder Mendoza, then they show show up to distract, but then Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams put a stop to them. Santos falls into an exposed turnbuckle and walks right into a JML driver from Swerve for Isaiah to win and retain, which was a very good match. It was a really fun main event, and it looks like the North American Championship is going with Swerve to SmackDown until Swerve gets swerved. Hayes decks Scott with a clothesline. Then he redeems the championship opportunity he won with the breakout tournament. So it's essentially Money in the Bank is what this was, basically. And after a couple of minutes, he hits this big top rope axe kick to win the match. And now Carmelo Hayes is the new North American champion. What a twist at the end. I think it did a really good job in establishing Hayes as kind of this real bastard character, a really serious contender, I think, or a big player. I did actually appreciate the misdirection, because like everyone and their dog knew that Swerve was not leaving NXT with the North American Championship before going to SmackDown. It seemed like it was going to be a given that Santos is going to win. I was kind of surprised he didn't here. Honestly, he's been fighting for it for so long, I figured he'd strike oil at some point. But either they'll give it to him down the line, or I wouldn't be surprised if he leapfrogs that division and goes right to the NXT title picture at some point in the future. But be that as it may, good luck to Hayes. A big pivotal win for him. Honestly, that championship has been cursed since last year, so I'm hesitant to see what will happen with him, but hopefully things can get back on the right track, especially now that, like, Swerve, he didn't need the belt. He never used the belt in any kind of way, and it was just like a status symbol more than anything, but he was such a feckless, pointless North American champion in the grand scheme of things, so I'm glad it's off him. Hopefully with Hayes having the belt and Trick Williams in his corner, maybe some more good can happen with the championship. My grade for this week's NXT is a B. It's a pretty solid show this week. I think it's some good build for Halloween Havoc in 2 weeks. We're getting fewer squash matches. We still got a few of them this time around, but we also got a lot more time given to certain matches on this show, which I appreciated. The only thing I didn't really like about this week's show was just like some of the characters involved that had the least amount of like direction at the moment, it seems. Like I said, Von Wagner, for all the hype that's been surrounding him, I'm not seeing it yet, but I could be, my opinion could change on him from week to week. We'll have to see. Same with Saray at this moment. But I think overall, pretty strong show, a couple of really good matches, and again, that twist at the end with Carmelo Hayes becoming the champion definitely threw me for a loop, and it makes me wonder how that build's gonna go. But what did you think of the show this week, folks? Let me know in the comments section below. A reminder that Dynamite this week is being moved to Saturday. I will not be able to cover the show this week. I apologize for that, but I will make up for it at the lack of a video with a different video. A viewer mailbag video will be dropping this weekend, so keep your eyes open for that. Also, if you're watching this on Tuesday night, stay tuned for Wednesday morning for my top 8 biggest soap opera storylines countdown, dropping Wednesday morning. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.